Should be live now. All right. Thanks everyone for joining again. It's been a while since we've seen each other. So our high-level goal is still exactly the same as every time before. So we want to hide away the complexities of reading and writing when we want to interact with decentralized data environments. So these are the people that are working towards this goal. Not everyone is here today. I think 2 people are missing today. The rest is here. So format still the same, 3 slides per researcher, first high-level goal, then accomplishments of the last month, and then targets of the next month. And we're going to get started with Brian. Over to you, Brian.
Yes, so hi everyone. So my current high-level goal is to optimize decentralized querying using explicit data publication structure, which means using the metadata that data publisher can publish, or using the structure, so the way that they organize the information inside of the network. So I'm trying to use that to optimize queries, or sometimes to make queries even possible. So we can go to the next slide. So this month, or this couple of months, I think, I've mostly been in vacation, so I haven't done a lot of work. Another thing that I've done is I've tried to publish a demo paper for the web conference. Sadly, it got rejected. So the 2 main criticism was that I didn't include a benchmark. Actually, I've done the benchmark, but I haven't included it into the paper because I did not thought that it was really useful for a demo, but they thought otherwise. So for a future publication, I will include some benchmark results. And the other criticism was that I needed to have more clarification for when I have conflict when I have 2 resolution strategies. So I will try to do it better for the next time. So I'm going to resubmit it to ESWC and they will try. So the other thing that I've done is start to write a paper about query containment in Sparkle, mostly in the context of federated queries. So what I did mostly is try to demonstrate the semantic of federated queries. So mostly when we have automatic source selections, so when we are not using service clauses. We can go to the next slide. So this month I'm going to continue the writing of that paper, and the target is EBDT. And I'm also going to continue my benchmark. So the benchmark is mostly about accuracy. It's not really about the speed, because it's pretty fast to be executed, because the answers of the queries usually don't have a lot of triple patterns. So it's very, very fast. So I'm not going to really benchmark that. So I also need to create, because in the literature, the benchmark are set semantics. I will try to adapt them to fallback set semantic and fallback semantic. If not, then I will try to make something from scratch, but I will probably be able to adapt what already exists. And that's it for me.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Any questions? Yes, Fabien.
Yes, two questions. Thanks, Brian, and hello. Two questions. Well, one question really. On the benchmark you are working on, the existing benchmark, they are not adequate because of the expected gold standard, ground truth, or because of the metrics they are using, or because of both? What's the problem with your benchmark right now? I understand that you want to change the semantic from set semantic and back semantics, but on an existing benchmark, what does it mean to adapt it?
What does it mean? I mean, it just means that the answer that is given with a set semantic is different than if you are to use back set semantic. For instance, if you have projections, you need to, it just gives you a different answer if you consider projection, and those set semantic benchmark does not consider that. I don't know really how to explain it more.
Okay, so the binding, the mapping, which is expecting is not the same in some cases or in most of the cases. That's what you're saying?
It's not a question of binding, because the answer is true or false. Is the query contained within this other query, or is it contained? And depending on the semantic, then you will get a different answer.
Okay, got it.
Have a different multiplicity of the bag that you're getting if you consider the bag semantic.
Yeah, makes sense. The benchmark for containment is true or false as a result. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Any other questions for Brian?
Yes. What will the benchmark be exactly? Will you compare just running the query, compare that to doing containment and seeing which one is faster, just running the query, or seeing if you can use
No,
the
it has nothing
result
to do
of
with speed. It's really about the accuracy. It's giving the right answer. Because the other solver just don't support it, so it's mostly to check if my solver is actually solving the problem correctly.
And do you have any idea of performance?
In terms of speed, I haven't tried it yet, but the previous benchmark, everyone was taking milliseconds to answer those problems.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm still going to do it to check it, just check it, but I don't think it really matters because it's so fast and it's so probably not significant in relationship to the time it takes to perform your queries. So
okay, cool.
It's just not something I'm going to put the emphasis on.
Okay.
And it's even more because you're doing federated queries, and federated queries are significantly slower than just centralized queries. So yeah, the significance of the execution time of the containment is going to be even less there.
Yeah, but that's what I presume, because I know that some that query containment is NP hards, if I'm not mistaken, or even worse.
It's complete usually, but it can go to NPR depending on which fragment.
So yeah, I want to know if
the
it was actually sometimes. Yes,
because the instances are so short, like you will not have thousands of triple patterns.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really.
But you will have thousands of triples, so often doing the containment will be faster than query.
Yeah,
That sounds
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Well, I think it would still be interesting to see what the execution time would be if you have queries that are really huge, like with thousands of it, or even more triple patterns, just to see from what point on it starts becoming, a problem. And I think we lost them. Let's maybe wait a little bit. All right, maybe in the meantime, Elias, we can go over to you. And luckily, you're the next one.
Yeah, sure. So like Brian, my high-level goal hasn't changed since the last time that we had this meeting. I'm looking to develop a personal genomic data storage approach that enables sub-file level granular privacy protections while supporting data queryability and shareability. So basically how we can represent genomic data to make it more modular and flexible for various use cases. I can go to the next slide. Like Brian as well, I was away for the holidays and haven't worked a whole lot on things that I already presented last time in this meeting. But one big thing that happened is the scoping review paper on clinical genomic data sharing was published on the 1st of January in Computers for Biology and Medicine, which is an Elsevier journal. So that's very, very cool. Yeah, a lot of work, but very happy that it's published. So moving on to other things, I've been finalizing this solid cockpit application that I've also been working on for quite a while. to present as a demo at ESWC and also present it potentially at the Solid Symposium as more of a tool for Solid users. These things are just papers that I will be working on and have been working on over the past period. Additionally, parallel, I've been working on finalizing this real-world federated query survey. We decided that we needed to do some replicates because of the big variance in executing the set of queries from one time point to the next. Sometimes some queries will work and sometimes they won't for transient reasons such as timeouts or just the Sparkle endpoint shutting down the request. So we thought that including some replicates would make the study more robust and show some of these challenges. So I've been working on doing that, and I will continue doing that over the next month. And then I wrote or submitted a paper for the Semantic Web Tools and Applications for Healthcare and Life Sciences Conference, which is this coming spring, about converting genomic data stored in a VCF as a semantic representation, because right now it's just tabular. And there are tools that do it, but they're very use case specific, and so we were looking for something more generalized. I presented a very preliminary sort of approach that we developed, and it was rejected as a full paper, but it was accepted as a poster. So the plan for right now is to fix that submission as to fulfill the poster requirements, and then expand on that work and submit it to the European Computational Biology Conference, which is in Lausanne in the summer, or not Lausanne, Geneva. So make the study a little bit more robust, and then resubmit there. So that's what I worked on. What I will be working on is a lot of the same. So finish up these papers and presentations of Solid Cockpit. Look at making this VCF semantic conversion implementation a bit more holistic and add some testing to it, just to address some of the reviews that I got when I submitted it to SWAT for HCLS. And then finish up the data collection and data interpretation for the real world federated queries survey, and then start putting it into more serialized paper format, because there's a lot of data and there's a lot of things that we found over the course of this study that's been going on for about a year now. So trying to make sense of it and present a sort of useful storyline will be the next steps there. And that is all from me. Any questions?
For this ECCB paper, did you already discuss this with Gokhan? Because he might have some useful pointers there as well.
Yeah, tomorrow I have a meeting set up with him, so I will. Yep. But I think it's the right audience as well. The paper will be transitioned more from the semantic to more the application use cases potentially, especially in the discussion. Because these computational biologists would be more interested in how they can use it rather than the underlying semantic tools that we use. But yeah.
Good. And yeah, the real world federation survey would be very good to finalize, because we have a lot of findings. So now we need to connect all of the data points and make a good story. But they are good data points at least.
Exactly. But yeah, so it'll be a lot of tying up of bows in the next couple months.
Good. Any other questions for Elias? No. Okay, then we go over to Ruben.
All right. So my high-level goals are the same. I want to optimize link traversal queries using some client-side sort of personal optimization approaches, which means we use the fact that one engine instance serves as one user, so we have some patterns there. What I did the last few months
So I finished finalizing the STEMS approach, the adaptive querying approach in Communica. I did some benchmarks and discover queries and showed some pretty major improvements for linked traversal. So that is cool. I can start using that now. I fixed a few issues that I had before. Then I moved on to derived resources in SolidPods. There I outlined the approach that I want to use to generate these derived resources and present them as a server. And I also implemented this approach in the SolidBench generator. So SolidBench now also makes these derived resources in the benchmark. Then I started updating the query sequence benchmark that I've been working on. And I now use the previous query results to instantiate the next template in the sequence. And I do that by just executing the query in a centralized manner. I use it's called Clever for it, which is really fast, which is nice. Then also for querying these derived resources, I've outlined the approach for how I want to use them in my query plan and how I want to adapt to the fact that we sometimes find these resources. One of the things I want to ensure is that there's as little assumptions on how these resources or derived resources are generated, so that they're sort of independent of each other. And if they don't find the exact resources I've generated for my benchmark, it can still work and doesn't produce wrong results. But I still need to implement it. And finally, I also updated the caching to Communica v5 because I've been working on caching previously, but didn't manage to submit on time for ESWC. And I implemented a more sort of robust and more extensible system by using a sort of cache manager class inspired by the linked traversal manager. So yeah, that also needs more work. Actually, I did implement it. I did try it yesterday, and it did seem to work. But some of the queries don't really show a lot of improvements, while I do expect them to show improvements. So I still need to sort of profile and see what's going on. So the next month, I guess, we'll be implementing this client-side use of derived resources. I have this whole thing written down, but basically, I want to use a derived resource, which is a quad pattern fragment, to do the linked traversal part for next solid pods. So I don't need to dereference the entire pod again. And also I want to use that to get answers to my triple patterns in the query. And then I want to use star-shaped derived resources to pre-compute some joins, some star-shaped joins in our query. And this way we can offload some of the computation to the server. And well, there's some other technical parts there that are need to be worked on. So I'll try to do that this month. And I also want to finish the caching implementation, which I had previously in V4, and have the same functionality and get it working and get it ready to be submitted for a new target, which is ISWC 2026.
Okay, thanks, Ruben. Any questions? Well, I have two questions. So the stems approach you mentioned in the previous slide, was that in Communica V4 or V5?
It's in V4, but it's mainly an extra join actor, and I don't think the joins change that much. So I should be
easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably only the algebra imports, if you have any, that will change.
Yeah.
Okay. And on this slide here, you mention QPF for the alternative views. Is QPF the only one you consider, or do you also consider other types?
But yeah, I'm going to use QPF for anything that isn't in a bigger derived resource. But I'll be using star-shaped derived resources, which is arbitrary stars with predicates. And those will be used to offload actual join computation. So I'll use stars, derived resources, and quad pattern fragments.
Yeah. I wonder if it's because, yeah, essentially QPF leads to data being fragmented across multiple linked data documents as well. I wonder if it's going to be significantly different compared to just normal linked traversal. Like if you if you would expose the derived resource as just a big turtle file or maybe an HTTP file even, I wonder if the impact will not be, or the possible performance improvements will not be greater in that case.
Maybe, yes. But I feel like a single solid plot is kind of small, so I think the pagination will not be that much, maybe. But I don't know, that's a good point. I'll have to look into it, see if I can make some different derived resources.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. If there are no other questions for Ruben.
Just a very quick one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ruben, and it's really for my understanding. In your caching mechanism right now, if you were to summarize how the freshness is handled of data, how would you say it?
I follow the HTTP caching semantics, basically.
Okay. So you're okay, right? Using the hash. Okay. No, I understand. You're using the caching and the hash for the freshness, right?
The hash, maybe.
You have a tag for freshness in HTTP. That's the one you're using, right?
Yeah. There's a specification. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Well, actually, we make use of several specifications because, yeah, we use the E tag there, but also we consider the, yeah, I don't remember the header name, but it's used to indicate the invalidation time of the cache. So yeah, we consider all of the different variants of how you can specify caching.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then we can move to Maarten.
Okay. My high-level goal is still optimizing decentralized query with aggregators and incremental processing. Aggregators are these extra components in the ecosystem that perform queries beforehand and keep the results up to date with incremental processing, and then clients can get those query results by accessing the aggregator. Last 2 months have been, so next slide. Past 2 months have been spent on the aggregator specification and the implementation of it. So most of this work was reading the OAuth specification to make sure that authorization as one work within the aggregator, so a client can give tokens or allow the aggregator to do queries or do fetches in their name. So you can give tokens to the aggregator and the aggregator can then do the queries completely without your help. This was kind of challenging to figure this all out, how this can work, but I'm finally come to a point where this is like stable and aligned with OAuth. And then like parallel to that, I've also been implementing it as well to see if, to validate what I've written in the specification is actually possible and that I didn't overlook anything. In the implementation is now being used in 3 cases for allowing for family pods, where you want to aggregate data from multiple family members. The thing that is being used here is the watch history, so you can make recommendations for the entire family, and to aggregate all the watch histories together and then make predictions on the history. But you don't want any single person of the family to be able to see the aggregated data. So you need like a third party that can aggregate this data and figure out this watch history for you. And then the aggregator can do that. So each family member can trust the aggregator to do this aggregation, and then each family member can just look at the results of that aggregation. And then also a solid watch party that's purely latency and seeing how much faster the queries run now, because they are being done beforehand. And then finally, you have a healthcare use case that is being done by someone else. I'm not exactly sure what is happening in this use case, but yeah, that's like the main thing that I've been working on. And then my next targets are to make a publication for this aggregator, We are not completely sure where and how we are going to publish this specification then. But yeah, we're writing the paper and then seeing what matches, or like seeing the scope of it. Currently, I'm looking at the use cases, writing out the use cases of the aggregator to show in the paper how the aggregator can be used, and so on and so forth. And then similar to Brian, my watch party demo that used the aggregator was rejected also at, what was it? The web conference, and my plan is to resubmit it at ESWC. The comments were kind of similar. It's also that the demo didn't have any benchmarking in there, which was weird because the whole demo was to show that you can visually see the performance gains that you have between using the aggregator and not using the aggregator, and you can see it actually in the video that I've made. But yeah, still they rejected it, which was weird. But yeah. And that's it for me.
Okay, thanks, Maarten. Any questions? So yeah, lots of people are going to be submitting to ESWC, it looks like. So we're going to make ourselves compete against each other.
How many review are you expecting right now? How many of you are expecting the final decision next week?
For the main tracks, as far as I know, it's just one person of our group that submitted something to ESWC, right? It's only Jitse, right? Or am I missing anyone? No. Yeah, he submitted to the resources track.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but yeah, the reviews were quite positive. So yeah, we have a good feeling about it.
Good. We have one paper waiting too.
Okay. Resource or research? Research,
and the topic is a negative result, which is hard for a paper always, but it's showing that link prediction method using deep technique right now are highly unstable, meaning that if you run it twice, you will not generate the same augmentation on the same graph, which is not good for decision making. We're waiting.
Well, yeah, even if it's a negative result, if the research is good, then yeah. Because yeah, Ruben, your paper last year at the ISWC was also a negative result, but that one also got through. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Exactly. I have to leave you now. I'm really sorry, but always nice.
Thanks for joining.
Bye-bye.
See you.
See you.
All right, but I think we're ready then, if there are no other questions for Maarten. Then we move to myself. So my goal is still the same, supporting all the PhD students here in their research towards this high-level goal. So what did I do these last couple of months? So I released Communica version 5 finally, so it mainly includes Sparkle and RDF 1.2 support. At the moment, we're still spec compliant, but yeah, as soon as new changes to the spec come in, the plan is to update to that as soon as possible. But I don't foresee any big changes anymore besides the work on exists, but I'm closely following up and helping out with that. Besides that, the new release also includes caching policy support, which was inspired by the work that Ruben E did. So all of the caching that's now done in Communica is fully dependent on the all of the HTTP headers. So if like at the moment we also cache, for example, JSON-LD contexts, but these parsed JSON-LD contexts are derived underlyingly from the from certain HTTP resources. So all of the caching headers properly propagate upwards to there, so that if the underlying HTTP resource is invalidated, then the JSON-LD context in this case is also invalidated. Besides that, version 5 also includes better service clause handling and also provides a way to a new explain mode to basically serialize your query using service clauses. So this is mainly useful if you want to know what the source selection output was for a certain federated query. Besides that, I also have done quite a bit of work for the working group, mainly worked on spec tests and some smaller PRs for the specs themselves. My next targets are to continue working for the working group a bit. So we're mainly working on everything around exists. The spec is basically ready on that regard as far as I can see. So we mainly need some new spec tests. So Andy proposed a bunch of them already, and now we're going through every one of them to see if it makes sense. Besides that, I also would like to work a little bit on Solid Bench, because I really finally want to have Sparkle endpoint support in there, so that you can basically configure in this solid pod. I don't only want to expose documents, I also want to expose it as a Sparkle endpoint, for example, or maybe even QPF, if that makes sense. Besides that, if I have time, I also want to work a little bit on adding an additional index or maybe multiple indexes for improving property path queries. So the performance of these property path queries improved a lot in the recent releases, because there was an issue open regarding property path performance where a query used to take like 180 seconds, if I remember correctly, while Jenna did it in 1 second. Yesterday I had another look at that query, and now it also takes 1 second. So the performance did improve a lot already, but there's more that we can do, because if you have like these 0 or more path queries and 0 or 1 path queries, this 0 part, there's actually a special case in the spec where if both sides of the property path are variables, then you basically have to request, or the engine has to request all of the subjects and objects that are named nodes in the dataset without duplicates. So at the moment we do an internal query for that, but this query, basically involves 2 triple patterns over all possible triples in the data set, and then a union, and then a distinct. So it's not that great performance-wise. So I want to add an additional optional index to optimize for these cases. Besides that, I know I've mentioned it many times already, but I really want to get started on this work around context-based reachability semantics in linked traversal. And that's all for me. Any questions or final words or comments, announcements?
What exactly is context-based reachability for semantics?
So at the moment, using linked traversal in Communica, you can configure using the configuration files. For example, I want to use CMatch, or I want to use CAll, or I want to always follow these predicates. So I want to make that a bit easier to manage as a user of Communica. So without having to modify the configuration file, I want to make it possible that you can modify these reachabilities using the context, so without modifying the configuration file. And additionally, I want to make it so that you can configure this for each source separately, so that you can, for example, do link traversal with 2 separate seed URLs, but each of the seeds have different reachability semantics. So that's a plan.
Okay,
And
makes
also
sense.
that you can, during query execution, modify these reachabilities if needed.
Cool. Will this include variables in the service class, or is this purely communica with the just modifying the context? I think I know the answer, but I just still want to ask.
Yeah, no, it doesn't include service with variables.
Okay.
But what does it mean, service with variable in the context of link traversal?
You can then say, oh, for example, both knows somebody, and then have like a service class where you put the somebody in service class, and then engine will dereference or should then dereference that somebody.
But I don't see the link. I don't see the. For me, it's federated query link traversal. I don't see the.
Because
Okay,
then
because
you
you
are
can do
following, because then you're following, it is indeed a federated query, but then you're following the somebody that you put in that query there.
Okay, so
Because then you're following that link. So that's just reachability criteria that you're baked into the query.
okay, so some sort of hybrid querying where you do federated queries with variable combined with link traversal.
Yeah.
It seems to be a strange use case.
I know, but yeah, it's very similar to having these reachability criteria, but just inside the Sparkle query. It looks like it, but not for a specific source. That's the only downside of it, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, it could become an option in the future where we have a reachability criterion that basically says, use the service clause like that. No. But the annoying thing is that you then have to, well, it has an impact on the order of execution in the query plan, because you must guarantee that the service clause with the variable is executed as last, so that you basically ensure that the bindings for that variable are produced earlier, because you cannot execute the service clause on its own with just the variable unless you have a certain index somewhere that you can use to look up, which is actually something that some engines can do. But that's the annoying thing about service with a variable, that there are different interpretations possible.
Good. Didn't know. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Unless there are any other comments or questions, let's move to the next slide, and that's our final slide already. So we're done for today. So our next progress update is on February 24, again at 9:30. So yeah, I hope to see you all then again. Thanks all for joining. See you all. Bye-bye.